Hello students, we are meeting again our second lecture, or you can say second video of our subject, that is analytical chemistry. And as I told you in the last lecture, we are going to start our syllabus with UV visible spectroscopy, and it is a part of your analytical chemistry, and I am Professor Yogesh Nandurkar will teach you this analytical chemistry, and we are going to begin with the UV visible spectroscopy. Basically, as I told you, what is spectroscopy? For that we have to start with the introduction. What is spectroscopy? Spectroscopy means, see why spectroscopy is done. Spectroscopy is carried out for qualitative aspect, for qualitative analysis. Qualitative analysis means if I give you a material, what is there? Okay, means what is that material? The answer to the question what is that material, the answer is given by your spectroscopy. Okay, and when you measure something using that, then it becomes a quantitative. Okay, quantitative, and then it becomes a spectrometry. Okay, so here these two things are different, means in TY, in organic, when you will discuss organic chemistry, you will come across the spectroscopic technique. Means there you are using UV spectroscopy, because by exposing your material, or you can specifically I can say by exposing your molecule to the UV range of radiations, how that molecule responds, that is noted in the form of graph. That graph is called as that is called as spectra, and analysis of that graph, that is that spectra, will give you the information about the structure of the molecule. That is the question, the answer to the question what is there, mean that is a qualitative answer. If you you will come across with IR spectroscopy, NMR spectroscopy, the details will be taught by concerned teacher. So here just I want to tell you that the when you are using the electromagnetic radiation, light is a electromagnetic radiation. So if you are using electromagnetic radiation, then if you want to use it for qualitative purpose, then it is called as spectroscopy. But if you are using it for quantitative purpose, then it becomes a spectrometry. Okay, here I forgot, it is called as spectrometry. So these are the basic difference. Now here, as far as analytical chemistry is concerned, we are going to find out the quantitative aspect. So we are going to use spectrometry, not spectroscopy. Okay, but the in syllabus the name is given, I don't agree with that, but here that is spectrometry. Okay, now what is the speciality, why we have to discuss that UV visible spectroscopy or spectrometry separately. Now as I told you, light is made up of electromagnetic radiation, and these radiation, they move ahead with the help of this sinusoidal wave. Now this sinusoidal wave, or you can say sine wave, has various characteristic feature. What are those characteristic feature? That, sorry, this characteristic feature, that these waves, you can see, I will draw it again. This wave, you can see here, it moves like this. Okay, and then again the repetition of same cycle. Okay, Now this is the starting point of the your wave. Okay, and this is the end point, you can say. Okay, so this is the end point. So this distance, I hope all of you know, you are discussing this kind of thing many times. This distance is known as lambda, which is called as wavelength. Okay, then there are various other parameters also, like amplitude and then phase and everything. But here we are interested in wavelength because these radiations are classified on the basis of lambda. Okay, there is vast range of these radiations which starts from radio waves to, you can say, x-rays or gamma rays. Okay, means for radio waves the wavelength is in meters, whereas x-rays and gamma rays are below, the wavelength is below nanometer. I hope all of you know what is nanometer. Nanometer means is equal to 10 raised 1 nanometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 9 meter. Okay, so this is the very important thing. So here we are going, and each radiation has different feature here. I mean to say that when you expose your material or your molecule or your solution to these radiation, the molecule respond differently in different region. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so here we are going to discuss only UV and visible. Okay, now what happens in UV visible, uh, you can say, radiation. So here when you expose these radiation to the molecule, they absorb it. Okay, they absorb the radiation at particular wavelength. Means this UV range starts from 10 nanometers to 400 nanometers, whereas visible starts from 400 nanometers to 800 nanometers. When you expose your molecule to these radiation, what happens? It undergo electronic excitation. Electronic excitation means what? The free electrons, if at all are there, for example I can draw here. Okay, if the electrons are in the lower energy state, what happens? The lower energy electron get excited and goes to the higher level. That is called, and this is called as excited state. Okay, so for to go in the excited state, this difference is what? This difference is the energy difference. Okay, so this much energy is in the form of h nu is absorbed by that molecule and it goes in the excitation, and this absorption is noted in the form of graph. Okay, now here as far as our spectrometry is concerned, okay, we are going to find out the absorbance. Okay, now why we are going to find out absorbance, that we are going to discuss when we will discuss the theory of spectrophotometry in the or colorimetry. Okay, now what happens? These your molecule which is under study may absorb in the UV region or it may absorb in visible region. Okay, when it absorbs in UV region, it becomes spectrophotometry. Okay, whereas when it absorbs in visible region, it becomes colorimetry. Now why it is so? Actually only for visible range we are using the different word, that is colorimetry, whereas if there is any other radiation other than visible range, we will call it as a spectrophotometry. What is the reason? The reason is here that in visible region you can see the color, means for particular, for example, if you prepare a solution of copper sulfate, that is blue in color. If you add ammonia to that copper sulfate solution, it will turn to dark blue. Okay, if you add if you take copper nitrate, then it becomes a green. So at means different metals or different substances, they give different colors when they absorb in visible region. So and by observing the intensity of color, okay, what I am saying, by observing the intensity of the color, you measure the concentration, that is what I said, quantity, how much. Okay, that is decided on the basis of intensity of the color, and that is measured using absorbance. Okay, that is measured using, sorry, absorbance. Okay, this is very sensitive, so I hope you will. Okay, I will, what I'll do, I'll read. So I'll just mention the word. On this intensity is measured in the form of absorbance. Okay, more the quantity, more the concentration, more the intensity, that all of you know. Okay, so intensity is measured in terms of absorbance, and absorbance is related to concentration. Whereas if you are using, if the your substance is absorbing UV region, you won't see any color. Okay, for example, benzene will absorb in UV region, as well as your some other aromatic compound also, for example toluene. But what is the difference? That difference will be noted in the absorbance by in the UV region, and in UV region you won't observe any color. That's why you cannot call it as a colorimetry. Here it becomes just a spectrophotometry. Okay, so that is very important here. So these are the two different terms. You can say spectrophotometry is a more general term than colorimeter. Okay, because colorimeter is also working on the same principle that on which the spectrophotometry is based, but here the special case is because we can observe the color. So this is all on the basis of absorption of radiation in the UV visible region. That is the introductory part of the your discussion. Okay, now all of you, I hope you know it. I told you that there are different regions. For example, if you go in the UV visible, it undergo electronic excitation, as I have explained here. If you go for IR, it undergo vibration, different vibrational level, because of IR it starts vibrating. In you can say microscopic, it is called a rotational spectra, because because of microwave, molecule undergo rotation. Okay, so different levels of rotational energy levels. If you go further to NMR, radio waves, it undergo magnetic change. Okay, so all these techniques you will discuss separately in different subject. Here we are going to discuss only UV visible spectroscopy. Okay, so we'll start with our theory behind the this UV visible spectroscopy. Okay, I hope you have understood what is the difference between spectroscopy and spectrometry. That's why when we are using, you don't know one word, that is mass spectroscopy, but it is not mass spectroscopy, it is mass spectrometry. Okay, so whenever you are measuring anything, that becomes metry, because you measure something. Whereas if you uh, find out qualitatively what is there, then it becomes a spectroscopy. And spectroscopy technique is, you can say, in a way it is a vision for a blind person. Like we can't see molecules, okay, still we can know what is there, and that can be understood, that can be learned using your spectroscopic techniques. But when you want to know, you know what is there, but you want to know what, how much is there, that can be discussed, or that can be understand by using spectrometry. Okay, so we'll move ahead to the theory behind spectrophotometry. So spectrophotometry and colorimetry are the analytical techniques that used to measure the concentration of analyte. Analyte means the substance which is under discussion. Okay, so when this substance is taken, first either that substance should be colored. Okay, that substance should be colored. If it is not colored, then it is made colored one by adding some complexing reagent. Complexing reagent means, for example, cobalt solution. Okay, or for example, not cobalt. Here there are many examples. For example, if you take a any, I will give you one example. Just wait a minute. Okay. For example, if you want to estimate, sorry, here, if you want to estimate chromium, okay, then you have to add some complexing agent like carbazide. Okay, this carbazide gives the color. Okay, and this after getting color, you, depending on the quantity of this chromium, what will happen, the color will change. Okay, color is directly proportional to concentration, means the quantity. Okay, okay, and color is how much, color is measured in terms of intensity. Intensity. Okay, so intensity of solution is directly proportional to concentration, and intensity is measured in terms of absorbance. Okay, and absorbance is directly proportional to concentration. Okay, there is one more, while performing the experiment, see, you have to take the solution in a tube. Okay, like this. Okay, light is incident through this and it will come out through this, and this outcome will be detected by using detector. Okay, but here in this your tube, the solution is there. This length of tube is very important. So this absorbance is also directly proportional to length, which we are measuring as a B, concentration as C. So this absorbance is, this 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 absorbance is directly proportional to, not to concentration and length both. So you can write here, absorbance is directly proportional to length and concentration. If you remove the proportionality sign, okay, you will get here a proportionality constant A into B into C. Now what is this A? A is called as, A is, small a is called as absorptivity. Okay, absorptivity, or this is also denoted by epsilon, which is called as, molar extinction coefficient. molar extinction coefficient. Okay, so this equation A is equal to epsilon BC is called as Beer's law. This is called as Beer's law, or it is also known as Beer Lam sorry Beer. This is also called as Beer-Lambert's law. Okay, is called as Beer-Lambert's law. This Beer-Lambert's law depends on what? The concentration, means concentration is directly proportional to absorbance. Okay, this absorbance is most of the times is measured as optical density. Absorbance and optical density, they are one and the same. So here it is absorbance is measured in terms of optical density. Okay, or you can say sometimes absorbance, and this I will write here, absorbance is equal to 1 my absorbance is exactly absorbance is exactly opposite to the transmittance. Means if you take a 100% absorbance means zero transmittance, or zero absorbance means 100% transmittance. But if it is say 70% absorbance, what will be transmittance will be 30. Okay, so in this way you can this absorbance and transmittance are exactly opposite. But when this light, as I told you, look at here, when the solution is here, okay, incident light is here, the outcoming light, okay, how the absorbance is measured, the it depends on the transmittance of the solution. So sometimes this detector is made in such a way that it measures the transmittance. Okay, so this transmittance is also one of the, you can say, one of the important parameter, but mostly this transmittance has to be converted into absorbance, and that is using optical density. Okay, so this is very simple technique, that you have to take the solution in the tube, you have to expose it to the light, and you have to measure the intensity of light which is coming out. Now here there are various requirements of this light. Not any light, not any sorry not any not any sorry not any light will help you. Okay, so what kind of light you need? Here you need a monochromatic light. Okay, how monochromatic, what is the meaning of monochromatic? I hope you know it, because while discussing the optical isomerism in organic chemistry at 12th, you know this term monochromatic light, having light with one wavelength. Okay, only one wavelength. This is not mixture of different wavelengths. Okay, means if it is say a red light, red colored light, so the source will be only red. Now which monochromatic radiation is to be used, that we will discuss while discussing the technique. Right now we are just going to find out the we are going to learn the theory behind it. So what is the theory? It totally depends, this quantity measurement depends on the absorbance. That is very important theory. Okay, now one more drawback of this, you can say Beer-Lambert's law, that this our theory, that absorbance is directly proportional to here, absorbance is directly proportional to length and concentration. There is one drawback, that you can measure the concentration for which the absorbance is, I told you, is measured from in the units from 0 to 1 only. Absorbance is either maximum 1 or minimum 0, but this Beer-Lambert's law can be applicable up to, very accurately, up to zero 0.8 absorbance. Means if here, for example, if you plot the graph, okay, if you plot the graph, okay, that this absorbance, this when absorbance, when on this x-axis I will say there is a, sorry, concentration, okay, there is, what is happening, I don't know why this is, this concentration, understand why it is happening, this okay, and here there is a absorbance. So as per this equation, it should go linear graph like this, but it goes up to 0.8 only. After that, whatever you increase the concentration, okay, here it doesn't follow linearly, okay, it changes from here, okay, got it. So what happens, your law is applicable only up to this, okay. Suppose for this 0.8 concentration, suppose there is a 10 milligram, I can't see, okay, 10 milligram solution. What will you do if you have solution of 100 milligram or 20 milligram, 200 milligram? Then in that case, what you do, you have to bring the absorbance, in the range of 0 to 0.8. How will you achieve this? By dilution. Means suppose if you have, if your instrument can measure up to 0.8, then what you do, you first take the 100 milligram solution, dilute it 10 times, find out the concentration after 10 times dilution, and multiply it by 10, you will get the actual concentration of the solution. So these are the technical things that you will learn in detail when you will perform it practically, okay. So this is the colorimetric technique. We'll see the applications of Beer-Lambert's law. What are the applications of this Beer-Lambert's law? What are those applications? For it is a technique, as I told you, it is a, you can say, quantitative technique. It's a quantitative technique. So how to find out? Suppose if I give you a solution here, okay, if I give you solution here, and if I want to find out how much a particular metal ion is there, okay, for example, if I give you say copper solution, I don't know how much it is. So what I have to do, first there are 2-3 theoretical methods, okay. In that, first what you do, first you perform the experiment, okay, and plot this graph. What is this graph? Okay, this graph is absorbance versus concentration, okay. Now what will happen, as per our Beer-Lambert's law, it will follow the straight line path, okay. And how will you prepare this graph? First you prepare the copper sorry copper sulfate sorry first you prepare copper sulfate sorry copper sulfate solution of known concentration. Okay, this is for known concentration. Okay, first you prepare the solution of known concentration, and for example prepare the solution for 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 3 milligram, 4 milligram, 5 milligram, like that, and measure the absorbance for all these 5 solution. You will get these points. Okay, you will get these points, and it will follow Beer-Lambert's law perfectly. Okay, and you will get a straight line following these points. Now what you do, you take your unknown solution, this unknown solution. Okay, okay, what will happen, already we have plotted this graph. This is called as a calibrated curve. This is called as calibrated curve. Now what you do, you take your unknown solution, measure its absorbance. Now what you do is, let us suppose the absorbance for unknown. Okay, this is the absorbance for unknown. What do you do, just extend this straight line, it will intersect with the calibration curve somewhere here, and if you plot it here, what will happen, this is the concentration of unknown. Very simple technique. Means suppose you know how to operate the instrument, that we are going to see discussed separately, but right now theoretically how will you find out the concentration of unknown solution? First make the solution of same material or same chemical and for known concentration, then measure its absorbance for different concentration, then plot the points, plot this graph. This is called as I said, calibrated curve, and then take your unknown solution, measure its absorbance, and then plot it here. Okay, so what will happen, you will get a concentration of unknown. Means just measure this absorbance of unknown, extend this line, and it will intersect here, it will intersect here for unknown, and if you plot a straight here, then you will get the concentration of unknown. Okay, this is the application of Beer-Lambert's law, that is can be used for detection of concentration. There is one more method. Okay, what is that method? In that, what you do, if you are asked to find out the concentration of this unknown solution, okay, first as I told you, make a solution of known concentration, make a solution of known concentration, and at the same time take this unknown sample and make the solutions of unknown also, unknown solutions. Okay, and this is known solutions. Then what you do, plot the graph. Very simple, plot the graph. Okay, for known you will get one, for known you will get, for known you will get one calibrated curve, whereas for unknown also you will get one more calibrated curve. Okay, then take then you can measure the absorbance. Okay, this unknown solution, and if you extend this line, if you extend this line, it will intersect here. So using your equation, A is equal to ABC, for this is for say A1 C1. For another solution, A2 A B C2. Take the ratio A1 upon A2 is equal to C1 upon C2. Okay, so now for known, let us suppose this is for known. Okay, this is for known, and this is for second is unknown. So what will happen? You know the absorbance of known, you know the concentration of known, and you know the absorbance of unknown. Just you have to find out concentration of unknown. So you can find the concentration of unknown solution by this another method. Okay, so these are the two different techniques. Then one more third technique is also there. This is you can say first, this is second. Okay, means here only known is calibrated. In first technique known is calibrated, in second unknown and known both are calibrated. Now we'll see third one. In third one what happens actually? In third one, that your absorbance is related to the, as you know, A into B into C, which is equal to log of 1 upon T. What is T? What is T? That we should know here, that is the transmittance. In the last slide I told you that is transmittance, and this transmittance is further related to the radiant power, log एक मिनट, log 2 base 10 for P0 upon P. What is this P0 and what is this P? That we'll see here. This P and P0 are the radiant powers. Okay, radiant power of sample to the radiant power of transmitted by the sample. Means here P0 is radiant power of the radiation which is going to incident. Means here I told you last time that in this tube your solution is filled, and this is the incident line, this is transmitted light. So what will happen here? What is happening here? For incident light the radiant power is P0, and for transmitted light it is P. So that is P0 upon P is converted to transmittance here. Okay, so this is the very important, and using this equation you can convert this equation like this, that concentration is equal to what? Log of P0 upon P divided by AB. Okay, so this will give you the concentration if you measure the radiant power. Okay, so these are the so in this what happens in this photometric method, a pair of match cuvette and radiant power incident is kept constant. Means here P0 is kept constant. Under this condition, means if you keep B constant, A is constant, B is constant, and if you keep P0 constant, okay, so what will happen? The concentration is directly proportional to radiant power of the transmitted light. Okay, so thus we get direct relationship between log P and C. The radiant power of transmitted light of the unknown is determined and concentration is calculated using our this equation. Okay, means here P0 is kept constant. Okay, P0 is kept constant, and that you know very well. You know A, you know B, you just don't know P. Okay, so you measure the P using instrument and you will find out the C. These are the three application ways. By using these three ways you can calculate the, or you can find out, not calculate, you can determine the concentration of unknown solution using Beer-Lambert's law. Okay, I hope you got this point. Now I think the video is too long. Now I will stop here, and I hope you have understood. If you do not understand, you can ask me again and again, and I will answer the query. Okay, so here we'll stop for today. We'll meet next time. Thank you.